Good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. If it's Friday, that means Chief Grand Poobah here at Press Box. Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with us. Stan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Good morning. I'm fine.
Look, we'll do some other stuff later on in the show, and we're certainly not going to do 2 hours discussing the Justin Tucker story. I'm for a couple of reasons.
We're going to do like an hour and a half.
Yeah, right. An hour and 59 minutes. 59 minutes, 59. And then we're going to spend 1 other second discussing the Pro Bowl. Griffin's got a gripping rundown of what happened in the air hockey or whatever the hell they did last night.
Was it a spike off, I think, as well?
You're telling me. I promise you I did not watch any of that. Unfortunately, I did watch the UMBC Bryant game, and that was a bummer because Bryant pulls it out in the end. Well, I guess they're really good.
Bryant is very good.
Bryant is very good. I did not realize that's where Earl Timberlake ended up. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he can play.
Speaking of local college basketball, before we get to Justin Tucker, congrats go out to Pat Scary. 250th win.
They beat Delaware last night, so that is good news. Unfortunately, that one wasn't on a platform that I'm allowed to watch, unless I don't want to get into that topic today.
Well, might as well.
More pressing things to discuss. But, yeah, that one was hidden on Flow Sports, so didn't get to watch any of it. But Towson now 8-1 in the CAA. We do like that. That is a good thing. Today's show is brought to you by the CIAA tournament. Griffin, you want to go ahead?
It is coming back to Baltimore as Baltimore welcomes the excitement of the Food Lion CIAA men's and women's basketball tournament to CFG Bank Arena from February 25th through March 1st. Tickets are available now. You can get them at Ticketmaster.com. Again, go to Ticketmaster.com to find your tickets for the Food Lion CIAA men's and women's basketball tournament at CFG Bank Arena, February 25th through March 1st.
Later on in the program, we will get into some other things. Chris Knoche will join us to talk about the Terps after their stretch of 3 straight Quad 1 wins. Our buddy Mike Bordick has a new podcast with Adam Jones taking over moving on from being a podcaster because of his role with the Orioles. Mike Bordick is going to take it over, and he'll tell us a little bit more about that later on in the program. Talk some Orioles.
Good for
with
Bordy.
him. Love Mike Bordick. That's my guy. So, I've been thinking about it because obviously we've had a lot of time to sit with it. And here's what I'll say at the front. And I had a couple people text me, dude, do you think this is true? Yeah, I do. And it's not just because the reporting is extraordinarily thorough from the Baltimore Banner. It's because, as it turns out, I had people tipping me off to the same stuff a month ago. And I wasn't aware of exactly what I was being tipped off to, but then went and revisited some of those things and found out that, yeah, this was corroborated and this was, I guess, kind of common knowledge in that sphere, in that world. I would also tell you that I've had others that have reached out to me that say there are other stories that haven't been told yet. It is still extraordinarily complicated. And we live in a culture where everything gets distilled into a take or bad internet jokes or whatever it is. And there are complicating factors. There are factors like there is due process. There's questions to what the Ravens' zero-tolerance policy has really meant. And kudos to the Banner, because even within the story, they visited that, right, where the Ravens have said we have zero tolerance. Well, what do you have zero tolerance for? For what? Because, to their point, they signed Dalvin Cook, right? And Dalvin Cook had a domestic violence allegation against him. We all remember what happened with Zay Flowers last year. Is it zero tolerance towards there being video of something? Is it zero tolerance towards... I don't know. I don't know what the Ravens have zero tolerance towards. I don't know how the NFL is going to react. It does matter that in some way that the story is of incidents that occurred nearly a decade ago. Does that mean that they're any less heinous or awful? Not even a little bit. Does it make it acceptable? Not at all. But I don't know how that complicates what the NFL does as far as potential discipline. I don't have any of those answers. What I know is none of it makes any of it okay. There's nothing that anyone can say today that would make this, just some guy, none of it. None of it. No matter how old you are, it's not okay. And it does absolutely change the light by which we will view Justin Tucker. It does. There's no getting around that. That part of it, I don't want to make it seem like in any way I'm a victim, but that part's a huge bummer for Ravens fans. Because Justin Tucker has been a beloved figure in this community. That part is true. We can make fun of, his statement that he put out where he tries to go after the banner and, how dare they not present all that. It's the same playbook. It's tired. It's boring. It's mind-numbing. That's just all we do. Whenever anything like that, just attack the people that are reporting the story because I don't know why. I don't know why.
Because it's inconvenient.
Yeah, I mean that's
truth.
That's the real reason, but I don't know. It does work for certain politicians. I know that much. I don't know how effective it's going to be here, but for certain politicians, it's been effective over the years.
I just heard about this story yesterday afternoon, and I'm never shocked anymore.
Sure.
Because none of us are perfect, okay? But I did not know that this is something that took place over a long period of time. I thought it was very recent.
No, it was, in fact, none of it is recent.
Okay.
None of the story that was reported
okay.
was recent. I don't know if there are any stories that are out there that are recent, but none of what was reported, all of it fell into the frame of about 2012 to 2016, which
okay, like totally different than I made an assumption.
Yeah, I don't know how much that matters. That's the part that it doesn't. It's easy to say, well, hey, all this stuff is coming out, all these years later, and that's true, but it makes it no more okay. But there will be
it did in my not that it made it okay, but I always look for a psychological explanation, and I was told something not off the record because it wasn't a media source. Somebody told me about a month ago that Justin Tucker said, he's going through a very difficult divorce. I refrained from talking about it until this very second because that was my explanation when I thought it was all recent, that this was a guy that was going through a very difficult divorce and was struggling both on the field and off the field. But if it happened 10, 12 years ago,
right, and there's
that's a vastly different story.
But then there becomes complications. Are there more stories? Are there more things that we don't know about that could end up coming out? Is it that the involved parties, someone wasn't aware of these things until I don't know any of that aspect of it, and I don't know how much it matters. I keep coming back to that. I don't know how much it matters that these stories are from years ago. Because it does feel like in some way it matters, because this is a country where we do believe in rehabilitation and the ability for a human being to change and improve and show that they are worthy of second chances, things along those lines. But that's after you've paid a penalty for your actions. So it's hard to discuss the rehabilitation part of it and try to tell, well, if the story that he ultimately tries to tell is, look, yes, I was a younger man and I made terrible decisions and terrible mistakes, but I've changed. If that's where this ultimately ends up, there's something to be said for that. We don't want to hear it, but there is something to be said for it. But that doesn't mean that you put it away or pretend like it.
Involved.
Yes, correct. Awful things still occurred that you haven't answered for. Even if that's the direction. We don't know. We only know what's been reported to this point. And what the Ravens may or may not have known. And that is, as so many people pointed out yesterday, kind of the next part of this, is that these stories, rumors, whatever you want to call them, were apparently prevalent enough. There were enough people, Justin Fenton acknowledged yesterday, when he got the initial tip, where the reporting went next was he put the words Justin Tucker massage into Twitter and found countless tweets and allegations over the years. So this wasn't hiding. There is going to have to be a requiem for the Ravens to say, hey, what did you know? And did you work to try to cover it up or protect your guy or anything along those lines?
Well, a famous story in the Ray Rice situation to me was when the state police in New Jersey said you don't want to see this video.
Right.
I think it was to Dick Cass. I think it was somebody in the Ravens organization.
I think it might have been a security.
Maybe a security person, and they chose at that particular time not to look at the video.
Right. They didn't want to.
They didn't want to know.
Create an amount of plausible deniability.
Yeah.
If the video never gets out, then we never have to address it,
Right.
and it never exists. And I'm not. There's a difference between asking a question and making an allegation. I'm not going to make an allegation. I certainly understand where it's tough, given the evidence that's out there, to believe that there was no way that anyone within the Ravens organization could have been aware of this. But I don't know that. I can't say that factually. But I can ask that question, and they will have to address it at some point. And I don't know what that leads to. And I don't know what it leads to for Justin Tucker. And the awful part about this all is that, like, it's easy for people to say, well, hey, Justin Tucker's not the same guy as he used to be, so the Ravens could just move on from him now. And then maybe that part's true, but it's gross that the reason why you would say, well, now because he's not as good as he used to be,
right.
now it's okay.
Right. I mean, is that perhaps why they turned the other cheek? Is because he was the greatest kicker, but now he's not the greatest kicker of all time.
Those questions are going to be asked, Stan, and we can't pretend there's not merit to asking the questions. They'll get pissed off about it, but there is merit to asking those questions. I'm not trying to suggest that the Ravens decided they wanted Justin Tucker gone, so I am certainly not suggesting that they planted this story as a way to try to get out from Justin Tucker as their kicker. I believe at the end of the year they intended for Justin Tucker to be their kicker because he's still going to cost them $7 million worth of dead money no matter what moving forward. So the best case scenario for them was that Justin Tucker could be Justin Tucker again. But there will be a lot of questions, and they're all poignant. The only thing that's not okay would be suggesting that, this isn't that big of a deal. And it's a very, very small group of people that are doing something like that. It's an I think overall, we understand more and more how completely unacceptable this type of behavior is. And again, we should continue to say the alleged behavior is. That it is, we do have to say that appropriately. The alleged behavior that has been reported is. We have to acknowledge 1,000% not acceptable, not okay, nothing. Never, under any circumstances. We can point out that there have been others that have done awful things, and they've been allowed to continue. Peyton Manning was once accused of some pretty terrible things by a trainer at Tennessee, and he's America's sweetheart.
And he did them.
Yes.
No question about
it. There are a lot of complications to this that it makes it difficult to distill into takery, into, like, Justin Tucker bad, Justin Tucker. Like, we want to oversimplify things for our own edification. The things that are alleged that Justin Tucker did are wildly unacceptable. Wildly. Plain and simple.
Are they exactly what took place with Deshaun Watson?
Not exactly, no.
Okay.
No. And again, that's one of the things.
Slightly lower.
That's one of the things that we'll do is we'll then just lump everything all into Justin Tucker's just Deshaun Watson.
And is he being charged with these things? It says
There's-
Ravens Tucker accused of inappropriate
Yes,
behavior.
there is nothing
No
has been
police charges.
Nothing has been filed as of this
And
moment.
have the women come forward to sue him yet?
Not as
civilly?
of right now.
Okay.
As of right now, it's just them telling their story to the Baltimore Banner. That's as of this moment. Now, I would be really surprised if that wasn't a next step. After this story comes out, it would seem pretty likely that an attorney is going to get together with this group of women,
Right.
But I don't know that. Like that, it just seems like that is a likely next step after these allegations have been made, that they would be inclined to maybe consider a lawsuit. But we'll see. We don't know that either. It might very well be. And these are the other complicating factors that it's difficult to speak of. The NFL and the Ravens have to do their own investigations. But the NFL might not find that the same people that were willing to talk to the Baltimore Banner are willing to talk to them. It might very well be that the NFL attempts to talk to them and they say, we don't trust you. We don't believe that you'll protect our names and that you'll protect who we are. We think that you might seek vengeance against us, and so we're not going to talk to you. And if that's the case, then the NFL might say, well there's just nothing we can do. How do we punish someone?
Well, if the game plan is according to Hoyle, and that's a term, meaning how you play bridge efficiently, wouldn't it make more sense for them to cooperate with the NFL to give credence to how serious these charges are?
It's a tough thing, and we see this over and over again with even when charges are filed in assault or domestic violence cases where you just find that they don't want to cooperate, they don't want to be involved. I don't really want this to be. I'm going to tell my story,
right?
But I don't want this to be my identity moving forward.
Right.
I don't want to be known as the person that was Justin Tucker's, undoing of his legacy. And I don't want to be out there.
Okay.
And so I don't know what happens. I don't know where that goes. It is complicated. And if the NFL isn't able to pursue this to the extent where they can punish Justin Tucker, then what do the Ravens do? This goes back to that zero tolerance thing. What is their what is it? It's so undefined.
Does it mean if the NFL decides to come down with some sort of suspension, that's zero tolerance, so that means you're done? Or is it have to be
they just
something
talk
criminal?
They use it and they bring it up. Again, kudos to the Banner for they brought up in the last year both
proactively
Sashi Brown and John Harbaugh have referenced the Ravens zero tolerance policy. But zero tolerance towards what? To what is the definition of that? And they've never applied that. They reference it, they say it exists, but they've never told you what it's zero tolerance towards. At the moment, to the point, the best thing we could say is it's zero tolerance towards a video. That's the best way we could define the Ravens zero. Or it might be that in their draft process, they have zero. They wouldn't draft someone that had allegations in their background. That's the only thing I could come up with, because since the Ray Rice incident, they haven't done that. They haven't drafted a Tyreek Hill or a Joe Mixon, anyone who had those types of red flags before the draft. But to the point, they have signed players that had allegations. They have kept players who had allegations against them. I don't know what it is, and I don't know what it means in this instance. The only thing I can say concrete is that it does change the perception of Justin Tucker. There's just no way around that. I mean, we may get Justin Tucker our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year a couple years ago.
Yeah.
He was that beloved. He's been that beloved in this city. And that part of this, it will be extraordinarily difficult, which doesn't mean he will be a pariah. Ray Rice is everywhere in this town. I mean, everywhere you go. I took my kid to the Ravens pop-up ice festival the Friday night before the Bills game, and there was Ray Rice working for the Ravens, making glad-handing, taking pictures, signing autographs. He pops through all of the suites on game days, just greeting corporate partners. I'm not suggesting that this ends, that forever Justin Tucker becomes a pariah in this city, but it's part of his story. That's the reality. And what it means, and will they need a kicker this season? That's the part where we're not going to have the answer today. If your opinion
seems like it's heading that they would need a kicker to start the season.
It would seem really
hard to imagine he doesn't get some type of 6 or 8 game suspension to start the season. But I don't know.
And by the way,
I think the confounding thing is why we still. I'm not saying we shouldn't revere sports heroes,
right?
But why we put them on a pedestal that their performance on the field equals some type of not pass, but just that we have the blinders on to anything possibly negative about that human being.
Yeah,
and I use the word human being for a reason.
Because humans are imperfect. I understand exactly what you're saying. I
mean, I'm perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Stan, it's part of the reason why I've said some time ago that I'm out on statues. I have no interest in giving anyone statues anymore. Because the the Joe Paterno thing really changed my mind about this. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, the blinders that were put on by so many people in that world just because of their love affair, which it made me say, I don't think I ever want there to be a statue.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever want it. And it's not to say that I'm not trying to say we should all go rip.
You don't want a Glenn
you
Clark.
say
that one, obviously. Yeah. That one, of course. No, but it's not. I'm not trying to say that Brooks Robinson or any of the Orioles that they have in that part.
Ray Lewis or John Unitas.
I'm not trying to disparage them. I'm just trying to say
they're not perfect people.
I don't like the idea of deifying a human being. Yeah. And to me, that's what a statue does. Like a statue is how we deify someone who's human. And I would just be okay with, there's a lot, we could put somebody's name up somewhere. There's a lot of ways that we can go about honoring someone for their accomplishments. I would kind of prefer that we got out of the statue business. I don't think that I like that anymore, but that's me. Other people can feel however they feel. They can accept that, well, we know human beings aren't perfect. We're not trying to suggest they're a perfect human being. We're just trying to say they were really good as a baseball player or really good as a football player, and that's all the statue does. I think there's plenty of room for debate and discussion. To the point, Stan, I think it's okay to have reverence for an athlete, but that you don't use that, again, when a story comes out, that you don't hide behind that. Well, I refuse to believe it because I just love this person so much.
Right.
Dude, I really did. You asked me 2 days ago, I would tell you I love Justin Tucker. He's treated my kids incredibly well on multiple occasions over the years. I would have had nothing but wonderful, complicated guy, weird guy, strange guy, but really likable guy when it came down to it. Someone who we all love the stories of him going over to the park and inviting Ravens fans to come over and shag balls for him, and it was a really endearing story about all the what it do, dummy, him trying to do his Baltimore accent. There were lots of really endearing things about Justin Tucker and his role in the community. And again, people are complicated. I'm not trying to say today that Justin Tucker is now the single most violent, evil human being that's ever lived, and that we should shun him from society. But it doesn't make any of it okay either. And there's going to be a lot more that we will learn, and we will see how it. If your opinion is I don't ever want Justin Tucker to be my kicker again, I don't ever want him to be on my team, then I think your opinion is valid. I understand it. If your opinion is the Kansas City Chiefs are about to use Kareem Hunt and Charles Ahemanu in the Super Bowl, and these are guys that have been alleged to have done really awful things.
Been suspended before?
Yes. Then I understand your opinion. Your opinion is valid too. Like Antonio Brown wasn't booted out of the NFL because there was a sexual assault, because he admitted to sexual assault. Teams were still plenty willing to pay big money for Antonio Brown after he acknowledged in a text message that he had sexually assaulted a woman. I'm glad the Ravens didn't sign him. I didn't want him because of that specifically. I didn't really care about the fact that he was a flake and that was the part that made me not want him. But I understand that other people would say, well, you're falling behind. All these other teams are willing to employ players that have done bad things, but the Ravens aren't. And
well, look at the message we send. You know, you and I are on the same wavelength politically. Mm-hmm. We've elected a guy twice who is a known sex offender. It's to be president in the United States.
It's not a deal breaker. Yeah. That's for a lot of people. It's not a deal breaker.
If he checks other boxes,
right?
That he's going to end abortion.
Yeah, whatever it is that whatever you care about, that your thing is, you've decided these things aren't deal breakers, and that's your business. And I'm not getting involved in that. But that's the reality. There will be people whose opinion will be, well, if he can still kick, that's all I care about. All I care about is can he do his job or not. Those people will exist, and they'll say, every other team's got guys like this on their roster. And I what do I say back? It's easy for me to say, yeah, that doesn't mean you don't have to employ them. But I understand that point. The only thing I can say with authority is there is no defending the allegations. There is no defense of the things that Justin Tucker has been alleged to do.
These things that were on the internet, you said if you Googled, massage therapy, massage therapist and Justin Tucker, when were they becoming public knowledge or out there? In other words, I'm trying to wonder, because to me, my scenario yesterday was this makes perfect sense. He was having a very tough divorce currently, and he was struggling emotionally, and he reached out to go to massage therapists to get sexual gratification. That made perfect sense, and why he was having a horrible season as a kicker. Is there any connection to when this stuff started seeping into the ether world?
The conversations seemed to get, it almost seemed to be the chicken and the egg. It almost seemed to be more like Justin Tucker's struggles were what led to people discussing these stories more.
Okay.
That it almost seemed to go the opposite way, which is for years when Justin Tucker was the best kicker in the NFL, nobody really wanted to talk about this stuff because...
But could you make the case, I'm just looking at his performance this year, trying to connect it. Mm-hmm. Could you make the case that when it became more prevalent out there, that it played with his head?
I don't know that I could say that. It seems
because I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened to him as a professional
I completely
kicker.
get it. The timeline seems to be the opposite of that, but I do think that you referenced it, and look, the rumors about Justin Tucker's marriage have been they have been out there for some time. Yeah. That's been spoken of for months, and again, or the trouble were the alleged or the potential troubles in his marriage related to
this
behavior, to knowledge that was somebody, his wife, whoever, learning about. I can't connect those dots, right?
I can't either.
I can't do that, but it doesn't seem like there's a one-to-one correlation between the timeline of this story and Justin Tucker's on-field struggles. It doesn't appear to be the case that there's a one-to-one correlation there. Look, man, I've said everything I feel like I can say. Yeah. As this unfolds as, the Ravens have to make decisions, the NFL has to make a decision, I guess I'd be stunned if the Ravens aren't scouting kickers right now. Because to Stan's point, it seems like the most likely scenario is that Justin Tucker at least isn't on the field for week 1. It seems really difficult for this number of allegations to exist and for there to be no penalty whatsoever from the NFL.
Right.
And that might be enough for the Ravens to say, well, if he was struggling to begin with, he can't be out there. Maybe it's just time for us to find our next kicker. Maybe that's the case. But none of that conversation, and it will exist. This is the duality. Like, you can't, none of that conversation should escape the seriousness of what's being alleged towards Justin Tucker. I think there's nothing more that can be said at the moment. If there's something more to discuss, we'll discuss it. I'm not going to hide I had other stations around the country like, hey, will you come on and talk about them? Like, first of all, it's not my reporting. Like, I got to be honest about that. Like, I would prefer that you reach out to the people that reported the story. Now, I also kind of understand that they want you to visit the banner. And they did very thorough reporting. I think you should. They've put out a lot of content, and I think you should go over and visit the banner. I'm not hiding from it either. Like, that's when I say that to other stations around the country, I'm not saying like I'm afraid to talk about it or I want to. I'm saying I didn't do this reporting, and in the immediacy, I wouldn't be comfortable just because what I've been told has been. I'm not vetting it. I'm not going through, and I'm just being told things. So this isn't hiding. It's just I think we've reacted. I think we've discussed it. And we're going to talk sports, and we're going to talk about the Orioles, and we're going to talk about Maryland basketball, and we're going to do all of those things. And like
we're going to talk about 66 million.
Oh yeah, Stan's very excited about the fossil vomit. Like that was the topic he came in with today. He said we're doing a deep dive on this.
It was Glenn's decision to lead with the Tucker
story.
Yeah.
Stan actually did legitimately request that we lead with it. And he said he had experts lined up that could come on and discuss the topic. And I said, I don't know. I think maybe not today. Like next Friday, we'll talk about it. But yeah, that's where we're at. Griffin, do you feel like we've covered it appropriately?
I think so.
I do think, and I mean this. If you have conflicting feelings and you're feeling bad about that, if you're a fan of a player and you're feeling bad about your conflicting feelings, I understand.
I think it's okay to have conflicted feelings.
As long as those conflicting feelings don't become, screw these women, or as long as it doesn't go there. If your conflicting feelings are, this is difficult for me, and I do think that some of these other circumstances matter, and I do want to know if Justin Tucker has changed as a human being, and that, like, if that's how you're feeling, I think it's okay. As long as it doesn't come to, but these women are how dare they 10 years later? No.
It's really hard to come forward ever.
Yes, extraordinarily difficult to do that. So. Like, if you're conflicted and it's complicated, I get it, as long as that's not where it goes. We'll come back in. Stan wrote about the Orioles this week at Press Box. We're going to talk a little bit about that and the clock seeming to be ticking for them to make any move of significance before the season begins. We'll do that. Chris Knoche is going to join us. That's all on the way. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health. Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCRs, continue along on a Friday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with us. And by the way, I have no problem, John from Little Rock said, I found Tucker's letter to be offensive. He basically attacked well-sourced professional journalists who are just trying to do their jobs. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I think right when he when it came out, he
it's
should have stopped
also,
after one sentence.
It's also part of the, this is what they do. And like, again, I'm not trying to give him a pass, but his lawyers wrote that. Like
it's a playbook.
He didn't. His lawyers wrote that. It's part of a playbook. It's gross. It's just what they do. But yes, unquestionably not.
And also, I think his lawyers probably aren't really. Are they really worried about his football career right now? Like, or is it?
I don't know.
I
think they're worried about both. I think they are. I think they're worried about both things.
I mean, that's standard speak because of potential litigation.
Right.
But it didn't have to go there.
It never has to. It never has to go there. It's just that's what lawyers have decided is the playbook. The playbook is attack the journalists, attack them,
especially if their goal is going to be defamation. Like if that's what they're trying to.
Whatever it's going to be, like that. Just always attack, even if it's not. Just attack their credibility to make the court of public opinion maybe come to your side. That's the way it's attack the journalists. Because to be fair, the media community has been maligned by a lot of people, and so it's low-hanging fruit at this point to attack journalists. But you cannot read that story and think it has been anything other than thoroughly investigated, vetted, all of those things. Period. All right. Now, Stan is here. Stan, this week at PressBoxOnline.com, you reacted to the big news, Dylan Carlson, the one that everybody was waiting for.
Oh, yeah.
The big story of the offseason for the Orioles. They got Dylan C. They got the guy. Everybody kept saying, go get Dylan C. Go do it. And they said, we got you.
Dylan C.
Yeah, we got the.
How about Dylan C for nothing? Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, we didn't have to give up all the prospects in order to acquire Dylan C. What you wrote, I think in a kind way. I don't think you were aggressive about it, but I think you kind of let out that even you were feeling a little bit kind of frustrated about the lack of a
Well, I took the position was this move because it seemed going into spring training, there was a big trade involving, say, Mountcastle for a pitcher, that there were 13 pitchers, actually 14 pitchers or 15 pitchers vying for 13 spots, and the position players, there were 13 position players. This made the number of position players 14, and it conjured up for me that now there's an excess position, because Carlson to me is essentially a right-handed, he's a switch hitter who hits 285 career-wise against lefties. And that to me is a better version of Austin Slater, and a more set version of Austin Hayes, that you're only going to use him against left-handed pitching, for the most part, if he makes the team.
Correct, if he makes the team.
And that was my position, is that it sure seems like now there's an extra position slot that could be dealt, a meaningful position slot.
The flip side acknowledgement would be, hey, guys are going to get hurt in spring training. That's going to happen. And, if you pencil in 13, those 13, it's extraordinarily unlikely that all 13 are going to be available come opening day, right?
Right.
And then there's always the wild scenario where someone has a crazy spring training and you think they've forced their way onto the roster. But this Orioles...
That could be, it seems like that only person, the two that could do that are Carlson and Kobe Mayo. That it looks like last year, I was down in spring training for 2 weeks. I thought Kyle Stowers deserved to be on the opening day roster last year. Mm-hmm. And I'll always wonder, when a guy has a big spring, even given Buck Showalter's, don't judge a player too carefully in what he does in March. I'd love to know what Stowers would have done had he opened the season last year and played significantly early. But that wasn't meant to be. And now his major league career is really hanging by a thread
of course.
In Miami.
Of course. So, all that said, are you confident that there's still one more move to be made, or
I'm still pretty confident that Mike Elias knows he's got to upgrade the starting pitching, and I'm again not 100% sure. It sure seems to me like the Seattle Mountcastle. I think they're asking for Mayo, and we're countering with Mountcastle, and to me, I wonder if the move, because Seattle really hasn't done a whole heck of a lot to better themselves offensively. They did pick up a Rosarina last year, but you don't know if he's going to come back to be the player he was. But to me, the perfect trade would be Mountcastle and Urias for Castillo and maybe a young 20-year-old arm that's got an upside. That to me would be an interesting deal.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it. You are committing at that point to Kobe Mayo. Like, you're committing then that Mayo and then eventually some combination of...
Well, to me, Carlson also, I watched him play outfield enough to know that he could play first base in a platoon with O'Hearn if need be, if Mayo was, again, a bust in spring training.
Okay.
But I don't think they feel that way. And I also am of the opinion that Mateo could play, not every day, but could play third base in the event of a Westberg injury.
Yeah, I think I would believe that.
I watched Todd Cruz, who was a terrific defensive shortstop except for his arm. I watched him play 8-10 weeks in 1983 at third base as well as anybody these eyes have ever seen, including Brooks Robinson.
Some reports this week about Dylan Cease conversations continuing for the Padres, but the Orioles not involved in those reports.
Yeah.
Oddly, also reports that the Padres are willing to listen on Michael King, and that one is
boy, I'd love to have Michael King.
Who wouldn't love to have Mike? What is the cost of Michael King, right? Like, why are they willing to listen on Michael King? Is really the more... you sort of get it on Cease, even though they didn't get Sasaki. The Padres are kind of telling you we're not just going to be the team that always takes on all of the money. We do still have to make decisions every now and then.
Here's a fascinating trade idea for the Orioles. They go after King instead of Cease.
Right.
And King is going to make big money when he becomes a free agent.
100%.
But the trade also, we want Arez back. And Mountcastle goes in a deal
to get Luis
along
Arez.
with, say, Kramer and Povich for King and Luis Arez, something of that nature, where Arez becomes the primary first baseman. You suddenly have a first baseman that can hit 350 on base percentage, near 400, and suddenly you've really changed the dynamic. Because clearly the Padres, they're talking big, but they're, with what's going on with their ownership dispute, the Seidler family, they're hemorrhaging money right now.
Oh, I think that's pretty clear. And again, it's easy to say, well, it's the same story with King that it would be with Cease, which is just you're acknowledging you're not going to be paying him next year. And so if you're acknowledging that you're not going to be paying him, then why aren't you trying to get whatever you can get in a deal before?
And Mountcastle is a financially much more affordable than Arez.
I guess the question that I would have is, like, if that's what the Padres are doing, would they be looking for major league ready talent, or would they be looking for?
I think they want to put out as good a team as they can, and Kramer and Povich and Mountcastle. See, to me, Mountcastle, they've shopped him to death. And there's just not a whole heck
I just
of
don't think there's any real trade. I think every organization says we've got a Ryan Mountcastle.
Yeah.
We don't need your Ryan Mountcastle. We have our Ryan Mountcastle, and that's
why I threw out 6 months ago that a great value to me would be Mountcastle to the Angels for Reed Detmers.
You're trying to take a reclamation project that you believe there's an upside
still
to.
Shows he has some upside. Right. I don't think we're ever going to realize that upside.
Look, I think we're all in the same boat with Mountcastle. Where the irony would be, boy, you moved that wall in for just to trade him. Like there would be some.
I really don't think that they put the wall in.
I don't think it's unique.
His issues at the plate go far beyond him changing something to compensate for the wall. I
don't disagree with that, but like. It does seem like he would be the one guy that would benefit the most from the move of the wall right now. Right. Like he would seem to be the guy that would have the best uptick because of the move of the wall.
Well, I think Westberg will.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, every right-handed hitter will benefit.
Tyler O'Neill,
Sanchez.
Sure. There's nothing wrong with saying that they all will, but he was the one that seemed to be the most kind of daunted by the move of the wall. But I get it. I'm not saying to me that's the reason why I have to keep Ryan Mountcastle.
He's had a career. I pat myself on the back when I'm right. I'm wrong plenty of times, but Ryan Mountcastle has had a career-long issue of plate discipline.
Sure.
And his career is defined by that issue.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways defined by it. Like, he's still.
In what way isn't it? I mean,
because he's still a thumper. He still offers. He does offer you something in the middle of the order because of the threat that he is. But
he gets himself out too much.
I agree that it is a part of his story. There is no question about that. Like, it's why none of us are sitting here saying, yes, you have to have Ryan Mountcastle as a centerpiece. But to the point,
I'd rather talk about 60 million euro.
Yeah, I understand that.
Animal.
I think the real problem becomes that the Padres or any of these teams are saying exactly what you said, which is we're not doing it for Ryan Mountcastle. Like we have no interest in Ryan Mountcastle. Now what? Did the Orioles just say, that's what we're...
That's where the throw-ins become interesting, And I don't know that Mike Elias doesn't value Povich and Kramer higher than
other people.
And believe me, I like both of them. But Arez coming back in the deal is fascinating to me because I still think the Orioles' offense, you've got the trade-off of O'Neill and Santander, which I'm okay with on the whole. But after that, there's so many question marks to me on this offense. Rutschman, Holiday.
Lots of those.
Yeah. Kerstad.
I wonder if
O'Hearn.
The Orioles in between is, okay, you don't want Mountcastle. Let's talk about Kerstad instead of Mayo. And teams are just saying, we don't think there's any trade value in Kerstad at this point. Like, I wonder if they could do it for Kerstad. One of these types of deals would have already been done. And the real issue they're having is that teams are essentially saying it's Mayo or bust. That we're not willing to move any of these guys for anything short of Kobe Mayo. And the Orioles are turning around and saying, then we're just not going to be acquiring these players. And I think a lot of us would say in a vacuum.
I think if Arez was part of a deal for Cease or King,
that they would be
that
willing
Mayo
to
would be in play for me. And you know me, I've loved Mayo, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like that's it. It would be tough to do for somebody that only had. I get what you're saying about Arez, but like, it would still be tough to do for a pitcher that you don't, unless you know that you can sign them or that you're willing to sign them, right? Like I don't know.
I don't see the evidence that, you know, and again, some talk show people in town would berate Mike Elias and David Rubenstein that they talk big and they didn't come through with Burns. I think they were in on Burns to a certain extent.
If the reporting is accurate, that
they were in on him enough that would give me confidence that they could sign King.
Fair. I get the question would be, is Michael King saying the same thing that Corbin Burns said, which is, I'm 1 year away from free agency. Love you guys, but I'm not. Right. I'm not signing. I'm about to have everyone in baseball pursuing me. No offense. I'm just not signing with anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't sign with San Diego. I wouldn't sign with you. That was the Corbin Burns thing. This is not.
But you go to a pitcher and you talk 4 years, $100 million.
I hear you.
You know, and he's got to get through the season and not blow it. That's
right.
A lot of money to turn down.
It's a lot of money, but there's somebody else in his other ear saying, if we can get through this season, the Dodgers are going to give you 6 years and $200 million. Like, it's very difficult because you just don't know where the agents are positioning these guys. I'm absolutely of the opinion that whatever money you are going to try to spend on Corbin Burns, go take that money and try to find one of these guys who's a year away from free agency and see if you can't spend that money to lock somebody up. I'm of that opinion, but it always takes two to tango. Like, they did try to sign Corbin Burns. I believe that.
Yeah.
I don't think this is an Orioles. I think it's there's another side of the equation. Corbin Burns' unique thing was, I want to be in Arizona. That's where my family is.
Right.
We just had kids. Like, I can't be mad at him that he did that, but it doesn't change the reality of what faces the Orioles at this point, which is they don't have a.
To get back to your base question, though, I still think Mike Elias has something up his sleeve.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I really do hope you're right.
And by that, you mean spending more than $15 million on a pitcher, or
acquiring
or
a pitcher
sort of
that could move the needle this season.
So
before the season starts.
Is there anybody even left now? Like Scherzer and Verlander are off the
free agency? Not really, right? I mean,
what's that?
Like
Are
a
there any
Seattle,
free
like,
agents that
but
are even-
Seattle, I guess, is like a team that.
Andrew Heaney is still out there.
Okay.
Which
Jack Flaherty's still out there.
Jack Flaherty is still out there.
Might as well.
And I'm not. Look, again, at this point, I'm not telling you that I would be opposed to it.
I like Flaherty. I think the big thing with Flaherty, and it bothers me that they're so hung up on this draft pick, that
Correct.
they got to give up a draft pick for him. You got 2 draft picks coming back.
Correct.
Why is Pete Alonso still out there?
That is. I think we all were kind of the belief that, like, he was going to end up in Toronto.
Right.
Like, that was the way that was going to go. I don't know where that's. I really have no idea.
Your boy Justin Turner still out there, Stan?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be.
Not my boy anymore.
I don't think that's.
Why? What happened?
I don't think that's going to be.
He got 2 years older.
He's on the. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think.
Still
that's
feel he would have been a great pickup when I said we should have picked him up.
Yeah, Flaherty.
He had that nice year with Boston.
Obviously, Bregman's still.
Clayton
out there.
Kershaw's not re-signed with the Dodgers. Yeah. So.
There's that. There is that.
I feel like that would be.
That's
kind of a needle mover.
That is so going to happen that he'll be back with the Dodgers.
Yes,
I would have interest in him on a 1 year.
Let me run one by you.
Lance Lynn too.
Would you be willing to
Koufax?
No, no, John Means.
John Means?
Yep.
Yes, but on a whole different level.
Yes,
yeah.
100%.
No, I'd
not as an answer.
Yeah.
As a. If this is what you're going to do is just bulk pitching, well, then bulk pitching the hell out of it and hope that John Means can be back to help you in July. Like, I'm willing to bulk pitching this thing if that's the route that you're going, is, well, we're hoping the Cobb Radish is going to be part of the solution. We're hoping that, sure, throw one more in. Like, throw in a lottery ticket that John Means can still help you before the end of the season. And if that means you got to sign him for 2, sign him for 2. Like,
he's going to sign somewhere for 2 years.
Right.
That's the kind of deal that he'll get eventually.
Right.
You know, it could be at the last minute. Somebody will sign John.
Oh, it could be in the season.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be after opening. Like, everybody knows he's not going to be available for opening day, so there's not going to be much of a push that you have to do it. But, yeah,
basically, what you do in those 2-year deals, you're paying the guy to do his rehab.
Yep.
You know, you're compensating him, knowing how much time he's got to put in to get back to help.
Correct.
You know.
Stan, you had an interesting show this week.
Well, we talked to Mary Drexler and Jim Nolan of Maryland Problem Gambling. What's it called, actually? The Excellence?
It's the Center for,
the Maryland Center.
It's the 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yes, and helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Yeah, she's my executive director of that program, Mary Drexler. And Jim is one of these certified support staff that has a gambling problem, and his story was really fascinating. Great guy.
You can find that right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Stan shows, as always. Brought to you by the Costas Inn. Anything on the docket for next week?
Don't have anything yet for next week. The following week, I'm going to do 2 shows on the 10th. One of them will probably be taped and then set apart, but Ross Grimsley and I are going to interview John W. Miller, author of The Last Manager, the Earl Weaver book that's coming out in March. And then the next night, I'm taping something with A.J. Gersh of Fox 45.
Yep. Very good. When we come back in, Chris Knoche will join us. Maryland, fresh off a 3rd straight quad 1 win over Wisconsin on Wednesday night. How'd they turn this thing around? We'll talk to Chris Knoche about that next. Stan's here. It's a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Back in here on GCR, Friday edition of the program. Don't forget anything you want to know about that's going on in high school sports.
Just call me.
Well, no, I would say that like, you can try, and he'll tell you something. But I think a better resource would be countysports.zone.
Yeah, but I played high school basketball.
I understand that, Stan.
Northwestern.
I don't know that you're going to have all of the information that they have at countysports.zone.
But I played.
I respect your career.
I went out for the football team.
Respect it. I have reverence towards all of your accomplishments. I just don't know that it's going to match what you can find at countysports.zone.
I went to Northwestern High School.
I respect all of it. You're a legend. They still talk about you sometimes, but there's more available at countysports.zone. Scores, schedules, highlights, every sport, every school, everywhere across the state, every level. They've got it for you, countysports.zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Heck of a last 10 days for Maryland basketball. Wins at Illinois and Indiana, and then a home win the other night at Wisconsin. Joining us now to tell us a little bit more about this outstanding stretch for the Terps. He is Maryland radio color analyst. Coach Chris Knoche is with us now here on GCR. Chris, it's Glenn, and Stan the Fan Charles is in the studio with me this morning. It's always great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Good catching up with you guys.
Yeah, good time to do it, obviously. Chris, how do you explain, not to say that things were coming unglued or anything like that, but there was a stretch in there where you have the Northwestern game and then kind of uninspired
Washington
performances against, even in wins against Minnesota and Nebraska. What to you has most clicked over the course of the last 3 games for this team to really start looking like a true threat to really do damage in March?
Yeah, good question. But before we even get to that, Glenn, I wanted to, you're right. There was kind of a spotty performance when they beat Minnesota, spotty performance when they beat Nebraska. But, boy, those wins look a little different
they
right
matter.
now
They
in
matter.
the rear view because of what Minnesota's done. Nebraska, led Illinois basically wire to wire last night. So it's a little. I think I look at those games a little bit differently now than I did when they happened. But yeah, sometimes it's as simple as having multiple guys play well at the same time. I heard Stan reference the Washington game, which was just an absolute bomb. It was terrible,
right.
And in that game, Julian Reese played about 20 minutes pretty well, but nobody else played worth a damn. And right now they got guys who are on the same page. They all understand their roles. I think that also applies to guys they've got coming off their bench. Not the deepest team in the world, but the guys they do play off the bench can make a difference, and they have in some of these games. So I think it's just, I don't think you could ever deny that they didn't have the talent. I think a lot of people were wondering if it would ever click, and it appears to be clicking, at this point in time. So the last 10 days, as you mentioned, have been terrific.
Chris, one of the sort of revelations over this little stretch here, and again, it is a 3-game stretch, has been sort of the really aggressive play of Julian Reese offensively. Do you see anything clicking? I mean, it's not like he's a kid anymore. He's a 4-year senior. Do you see anything clicking with him being more aggressive?
Well, I think he's more comfortable. I tell you what, one of the little things that you have to give him props for, Stan, is what he's done to improve himself as a free throw shooter.
Massive.
Massive. He's high 70s. At one point, I think recently, he'd made 24 of 25. I think that what that does is it emboldens you around the basket. You could try different things, knowing that, worst case scenario, you're going to get fouled and get yourself a couple of points at the free throw line. And I think that all of that sort of, kind of blends together. The more confident you are, the more you're willing to assert yourself. And the more you assert yourself, generally speaking, good things happen. And he's playing like an older guy. He made one of the great subtle plays that I've ever seen him make the other day that really sort of underscores the miles he's come. He, in the last play of the game against Indiana where Rice hit the 3, that was a broken play, and the ball was shoveled to Julian, not only did he hand the ball off to the shooter in the right spot, but he set the screen simultaneously. And that doesn't happen unless you have a certain level of maturity. And he's kind of grown into the role. And it did take him a while, but some guys are on a different clock than others. You know how that goes. And, he's been outstanding this season.
That's an interesting observation.
He's been a game changer, man. Like, it really is crazy how good he's been. Chris Knoche is with us here on GCR. Chris, the struggles on the road, and obviously everybody was hanging, the 4-20 on Kevin Willard, and look, that was his record. That was the reality in Big Ten play, and we know that last year's team, that was kind of a mess. But did they just need to have those two games? Like, was that a moment where it all clicked? Hey, this is what it takes, come hell or high water, to win on the road. Or is it really just, no, this is really the story of how difficult it is to win on the road in the Big Ten, and just because they won those two games last week, that doesn't suddenly make you say, well, they're definitely going to go to Ohio State and win. It's still going to be that difficult to win on the road in this conference.
I think the answer to that is yes.
Yeah,
I mean, to both things can be true, and I think that they desperately needed to kind of break through that wall, if you will. They did it, and then once you do it, just it's a confidence thing. You played a 40 minutes, a complete 40 minutes at Illinois to win that game. That carries over just a couple of days later. We have had no luck at Indiana over the last few years, none whatsoever. And, for those of us who have been around the program, when you win there, anytime you win on the road, it feels like 2 wins. Anytime you win in a place you've had no luck at all, it feels like 3 wins, So coming out of Indiana, this team definitely had a little – I know there was some fatigue because we played – ultimately after that Wisconsin game, I think I don't know if you guys heard me talking with Kevin Willard after the game. It was 9 games in 27 days.
Yeah.
And it started on the West Coast with 2 games and then a delay coming home because of the snowstorm here. It was a long month, and there's a grind to kind of get back to your question, Glenn. There's a certain amount of grind that this is. Even though they're college kids, they're not playing every other night like NBA guys are, but it's pretty damn close.
Chris, my observation about Reese, I have the inverse observation about Derek Queen of late. He just hasn't played his best basketball of late. Do you see that as being part of the grind, that he hit a little bit of a wall here in January?
I think I get asked that question a lot, and I've always thought the wall was something that people made up. I think that Glenn, Stan, with all due respect to the question, I just think that right now, he's deferring at the right times. The other night he was, I don't know what that number was, 2 for 12 or something like that. But he just impacted the game with the rebounding, with free throw shooting down the stretch of the game. Sometimes I think he's guilty of trying to do a little too much.
Yeah.
He does have this unbelievable skill set. He's got great hands, great feet. I think I know I'm probably making this stuff up, but I'd love to see him have one more year as a college player where he really has a chance to change his body a little bit and grow into being that guy. Because I do think I'd hate to see him get drafted and spend a year sitting on a G League bench somewhere.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. I see the skill set, and he's going to be a tremendous player, but we've seen it from Chris Wilcox through the years of guys leaving at least 1 year too early. But it's hard to turn that money down.
Yeah, that's the reality. Chris,
well, at this point in time, the way the rules are, I mean, he will be handsomely compensated should he decide to stay. It's not like
that's true.
Chris had to. Chris, for a lot of reasons, it was lightning struck at the right time. He had a monstrous NCAA tournament, and he was going to get paid like he and his family could never imagine or envision. Right. And a little different animal there.
You brought up earlier the depth, right? And it's been one of the bigger questions. And the flip side argument is always, hey, you get to the NCAA tournament, you're not playing 10 guys. Like, that's not the way that this works. we see it in flashes. There are good minutes from all of these guys from time to time, but is it enough to, when you're in that situation, continuously beat the best teams down the stretch of this season to make that deep run that everybody's hoping for?
Well, I think you can beat anybody with, playing 7 or 8 man, using rotation with 7 or 8 guys. One of the things that I'm not sure you can do, to the point of the question, for instance, against Indiana, until there were 5 seconds left to go in the second half, they played all 5 starters the entire second half. They never came out. And I don't know that that's a formula for success in a multi-game stretch. I don't know that you can do that, but in this day and age, the TV timeouts are so long. You get the 5th timeout in the second half, and then you have these ridiculously elongated replays for the officials to go look at. So there are plenty of times to rest, during the course of these games. I don't know that you can go in there and reasonably expect to be successful long-term playing 5 guys, but you can with 7 or 8 for sure.
Yeah, the idea, it's that floater timeout doing broadcasts. It's so annoying. It's just such an annoying timeout. But
my thing is that the officials sitting over a replay. You got to put a clock on those guys. If you haven't seen something to change your mind in 20 seconds,
get on with it.
Back out.
I agree with it. Just get on with it at this point. Like, whatever the call was, that's the call. To me, the thing that I keep coming back to is, like, the confidence that these 3 guards are all playing with right now. Like, that to me is the big. I don't know how many teams that you've been able to expect that all 3 of your guard or wing players can all be contributors in any single game. And I know somebody would say, hey, Byron Muta, we go back to the championship team. It's rare that I've ever seen a team at Maryland I have so much confidence in all 3 of these players at the same time.
Well, you got to give credit to the coaches, who went out and got guys who aren't just shooters who solved the problems from last year. These guys are players. They're very good basketball players. And further on that point about the guards, I think the one guy with the lowest shooting percentage, that would be Rodney Rice. Of those 3 guys, that one guy might actually be the best scorer, where he can, he gets to the rim, he shoots mid-range jumpers, he gets to the foul line, so he's a talented kid, and that's a talented threesome right there. They addressed a lot of their needs, and we're riding them right now, like Seabiscuit. They're playing great, and they're playing with a lot of confidence.
If you could gauge, and you know Kevin pretty well, what is his confidence level in this team right now? Does he think he's got the horse, not to win the national championship, but that could make a run at least to the Sweet 16 level?
I will tell you, I think Kevin believes, I know he believes they can play with anybody. And they've got the guys, they've got a guy playing point guard as well as anybody in the country in Jacoby Gillespie. He struggled a little bit with his shot the other night against Wisconsin, but he's over 40% from 3. He's sort of flirting with that mythical 50-40-90 thing, 50% from the field, 40% from 3. 90% from the free throw line. He's up there in all 3 of those categories. And then the other guys have been really good players on the wings. They've got the requisite amount of experience. They certainly have the size. And I think he feels like they could absolutely play with anybody. It should be a fun February trying to figure out where you are in the, with the rest of the Big Ten.
Yeah, they got there's a real opportunity to move into a top 4 seed type of situation right now. I mean, that really is in front of them, depending on how these weeks go. Chris, I've been asking everybody, obviously your experience as a coach. There's been so much hubbub about Dan Hurley. What do you make? To me, genuinely, I get it. That thing from a couple weeks ago, I can see why he would want that back, but I don't. Maybe part of this is we were around Gary for a long time, and coaches are intense. It's hard for me to get all that worked up about it.
Well, gosh, I played for Gary, right?
Yeah.
And there was never a point in my life where playing for him or watching him on the sidelines, there was never a point where the word clown ever entered my mind.
Right. That, yeah.
And yet every season there are 2 or 3 times where it enters my mind watching them play. So he's a certifiably great coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach just by virtue of the fact that they've won multiple national championships. But ultimately, dude's got some seriously narcissistic tendencies. And, I think that, if you're Connecticut, you make that deal with the devil. He's brought him championships and acclaim and money and all the above. But, there's a lot to unpack there.
I trust me. The don't turn your back on me. I'm the best coach in the effing sport. Like that. That's not okay. I got no problem saying that's not okay. I never know what the edge is for a coach between dude, this is who I am. In order for me to get to this place, I've got to kind of be a little bit of a certified
Earl Weaver was just like that in baseball. The great ones think.
Fellas, I coached for 16 years.
I know.
I've been on the side. I've been doing games for 26 now. I have heard these guys say things you cannot believe, but that is something that's unbelievable that would come out of anybody's mouth. I've never heard anybody utter anything close to that.
I agree. That one specifically, I completely agree with. I really do.
Yeah.
But,
hey, Chris, just another question off of Maryland. Duke, have you seen them play much this year?
How could you not? They're on TV more than friends.
What's your take on Flagg as a player?
Well, obviously he's super. He's very, very good. Sort of the presumptive number 1 pick. Although I watched Ace Bailey from Rutgers score 37 of the easiest points I've ever seen against Northwestern. He's got the whole package. I think that, because of the hype that not only that has preceded him, but also the level he's played to, Stan, I think that he'll clearly be the number 1 pick. He's sort of seen as a savior for franchises, I think. And I hope if he comes to Washington, he's that guy. He's a damn good player on a really good basketball team. I'm really not great at sort of projecting that next step thing. There are guys I thought could be great NBA players that were just okay or just journeymen, and then they were journeymen who turned into being big-time players in the NBA. So, he's a terrific college player. I could just leave it at that.
And I trust your observational abilities on coaching talent. What do you think of the job Shire does there, above and beyond how he's recruited? Do you think he's a good coach?
I think he's in an impossible situation.
Yeah.
I think he's short answer, yes, I think he's a good coach. I think he could be John Wooden and still be in a difficult situation because you're following a guy who kind of wrote the book. And not only that, not only did he write the book, he wrote the book at that place. And not only that, he still keeps an office indoor,
right there.
Adjacent to Cameron Indoor. So when you throw all that into the pot, if you will, I think he's done a damn good job. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to throw in a quick plug for the podcast?
Yeah, I do. Thanks. DC Coaches Basketball Podcast. I'm with Gary Williams, my friend Eddie Tapscott. You guys know Jimmy Patsos, of course. We also use Gordon Austin as well. We record once a week on Wednesdays and drops on Thursdays. We did not do one this past week. My schedule is kind of, up in the air, but we're back at it next week, and I appreciate the opportunity to drop that, Glenn. Thanks.
Always appreciate you.
Thank
Chris
you,
Knoche, of course, back in action on Thursday night when Maryland's at Ohio State on the Maryland Radio Network and 105.7 The Fan. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Chris Knoche with
Always
us here
good.
on GCR. Yeah, I love Chris. I think he's great. I am in a weird place with the Dan Hurley thing. We're like, yes, that specific thing.
Which thing? I'm sorry. Danny
yeah,
Hurley?
the don't turn your back on me.
Yeah,
That's way over the top. Yeah. But these guys are nuts. Like they are. Yeah. And the one thing that he's the back-to-back national champion. Like it's worked. If his players aren't rubbed the wrong way by it, that to me is kind of we get emotional and kind of romantic thinking about the stories of like Gary Williams would cuss out Juan Dixon, and then Juan Dixon was allowed to turn around and cuss out Gary Williams. And it just worked. It worked with that group. And a lot of other people would look at Gary Williams and be like, that guy. They would have a distaste towards him because of all of that stuff. But it worked. He got his players, and that style largely got good things out of those players. And he's beloved by that group of guys. And I get what Chris is saying. It's like, yeah, but Gary would have never said that.
Right.
And I believe that. Like, that's not – he would say a lot of things, but it would never be that narcissistic.
It wouldn't be about me.
Right.
You know.
That, like, I'm better. It wouldn't be that. And I do agree with that. It's way over the top. But in general, like.
But my point about Earl Weaver, that famous one when he came out with the balk, and he says, I'm going to the World Series. You know, what, for blowing World Series? I'm going to the Hall. No, for winning them.
Yep. It's a tough thing for me. I do appreciate, though, that's Chris Knoche certainly knows more about the topic than I do.
Yeah.
And his years on the bench and being around other coaches. I do appreciate that.
Podcast must be pretty good. Who's he got on it? He's got Gary.
Gary and Jimmy and Tap Scott. Yep.
He hasn't asked me to be on it.
Well, does he know about your career at Northwestern High School?
I played basketball at Northwestern.
Now, it does say the DC
team.
Coaches podcast. It doesn't say the Players podcast. Okay. I think that's the difference there.
Back then, they used to say I was like kind of like a coach on
the
bench.
court? Is that what they said?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Hey, this print issue of Press Box is still available right now for free. We are approaching it about 2 weeks out for the new print issue of Press Box, which will be hitting stands, and we'll tell you more about that in the coming weeks. But this one's still available for now. Go get it at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. It is our annual best of issue with Lamar Jackson on the cover.
We'll tell people about it in like 3 weeks.
Well, in 3 weeks, I'd like to hope that it's already on stands. I'd like to hope that people have already seen it.
Oh, you mean we'll plug it
just
as it's coming out?
Before it hits, the days before it hits stands.
Any idea what's on the cover?
I happen to know. And I'm looking forward to everybody else finding out about it. I will tell you, it's a baseball theme. There is a baseball theme to the next print issue of Press Box that will be available in February. Speaking of baseball themes and speaking of podcasters, this man is making a commitment that I cannot believe a human being would make a commitment to doing. Do you know what this guy is doing, Stan? He is committing to spending his summer working with Jerry Coleman.
He must really need the money.
I'm worried that
I'm
worried this is like a community service thing, that we're going to find out that this guy did something and he got sentenced to doing this show with Jerry Coleman. He is, of course, our friend, Orioles Hall of Famer. The great Mike Bordick is back with us now here on the program. Bordy, it's Glenn. Stan's here with me today. It's always great to catch up. What in the world are you doing, man?
Wow. First of all, thanks for having me, Glenn and Stan. Good talking to both of you guys. It's been a little bit of a while.
Yep.
You know what? I'm having fun talking Orioles. I just love these young kids. There may be a few things organizationally I'm not quite on, but wow, what a group of young, talented players. And, hopefully we can talk about them hoisting the trophy this year.
Yeah,
so
let's
it's going to
pray
be
that.
fun. Yeah, I think Adam Jones kind of set a precedent with his podcast. And, man, I was just really thrilled and humbled that they asked me if I would kind of carry it on. And, Jerry Coleman's been in this gig for a long time. He's done good things. He's done bad things. He's a little bit controversial at times. But I will say this. Every time I've been around him, first thing that sticks out is he's very knowledgeable, and he loves the Baltimore community and, of course, Baltimore sports.
Well, I think it's smart because I did notice that you guys are doing it from separate locations. So it's smart. So you don't end up strangling him halfway through. I think that is really important. The BMore Baseball podcast is the podcast, and you'll be able to find it wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Bordy, I remember talking to you a couple weeks back, and I could sense that you were frustrated with how the offseason had gone, and I can't imagine that that's dramatically changed. Stan is still confident that there's got to be one more move that this team is going to try to make. Where are you at with where this roster is as we're now only a couple of weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting?
Yeah, I think as a fan and somebody who's followed the team and just some of the rhetoric I've been hearing for the last couple of years, I think we all were kind of led to believe that all of a sudden the Orioles were going to make some blockbuster deals with the talent they had, and infuse some money from new ownership. And I don't know that it's ever going to happen, to be honest with you. I think new ownership has come in, and just some of the things I've already heard makes me think that there's no way they're willing to compete with the Yankees, or the Dodgers financially. And it is pretty challenging, that's for sure. But that being said, still trying to harness the true philosophy, I think, is what we're all kind of yearning for. And I think I think they've done a nice job to fill the holes they really needed this offseason. They're not the blockbuster deals, but I think ultimately what we've been witnessing in baseball with just the unbelievable amount of injuries and the fact that teams need depth, I think the Orioles are doing a pretty nice job of creating depth. And when they get some of their players back, they'll be a little bit deeper. I think we're all rushing to trying to trade all these blue chip guys and get the most back that we can. And like I said, I think depth is really important, and we have to hang on to these young guys, really as long as possible, because the risk of injury is high.
Mike, last year the ball club won, 10 less games than the year before and a quick exit at the playoffs. But I think what got overlooked a little bit is they were doing it without a guy with the capabilities of Felix Bautista, who, when you got to the 8th or 9th inning, the ball game, and you had the lead, it was going to be pretty near impossible to beat the Orioles. What do you think they can expect from him this year? And is it easier for a hard-throwing relief pitcher to still command what he needs to do coming back from TJ surgery than a starting pitcher?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know, because I haven't had to do that. But I will say this.
Yep.
Just from everything I've heard and been around the game and witnessed pitchers go through this,
Yep.
So not only does it take a year to deal with surgery, but it takes another year to actually get the feel of the baseball and how it's coming out of your fingertips, because it's truly amazing what pitchers do as far as trying to learn how to repeat and get feels for pitches and things like that. So they're kind of relearning. They're teaching their body all over again. They're teaching that elbow joint and then down into the fingertips how to actually release the baseball consistently again. So I'm a little tentative to say the Orioles are going to be back because Batista's back. I think there are going to be inconsistencies, and only from the fact because his whole career has been inconsistent up until the year he burst onto the scene.
Yep.
So you wonder if he's ever going to be able to harness it again. I think it's great they got Kittredge because they need that depth, and they need guys that have those big arms that they can slide in the back end of the bullpen, because really, in my opinion, the back end of a bullpen is the reason why teams win. Yeah. And I've been on teams that have had great closers and suspect closers, and there is no comparable difference. When I first came over to Orioles in 97, we had Randy Myers, who set a record for like consecutive saves. When I came over when I was with the A's, they had Dennis Eckersley. It was unbelievable just how confident and comfortable you felt at the end of a ball game when those kind of guys are thrown.
Mike Bordick is with us here on GCR. Bordy, to go back to if there's still a move to make, if the Orioles were to land a Luis Castillo, if they were to land let's throw out Dylan Cease, Michael King, are they one pitcher away from saying, okay, they've got a legit shot to win this division? Or would you still look at it and say, yeah, I don't know that the lineup is like, where would you be if they were to add one more?
Yeah, I mean, I think the beauty right now is to kind of open the mind a little bit to how fluid all this is going to be. I think this team is going to be probably every day trying to work deals to help their organization get depth and stay strong. They're looking, obviously, for sustainable success because they just want, obviously, the fans to stay on competitive teams. So they have a lot of, tools in place, but just the fluidity and timing of moves. Do they really want to bite the bullet on a starting pitcher and have to pay $200 million? And some of the pitchers that they're looking at, they might be able to control them for a half a year, But golly, to lock up these starting pitchers is really hard, especially for a mid-market team. So being aware of that, having foresight into that, and understanding the value of players as you go. Is this team really going to be able to compete? Because I know it looks like in the American League East, a lot of teams look like they've done way better on paper than the Orioles. Personally, I think the Blue Jays made moves just to make moves.
Yeah, I agree.
I would be surprised if they stay super competitive. And I think the Yankees are always a question mark. So many people coming in there. Does that clubhouse gel? Because I've seen that Yankees team with great players and be the worst team in the American League East. Red Sox are a question mark too. And Tampa, who knows what they're going to be. So I think once again, another great year that the Orioles could take a step forward like they did the first half of last year, but prepare better for the trade deadline and then bust a move that can change, everything. I just think they have to have that kind of mindset. But I think up until then, things are going to be fluid with that understanding. Yeah, you can improve until the deadline, and hopefully you're set up to really make that crusher move.
Mike, you said something a few minutes ago that I wholeheartedly agree with. It's at the back end of bullpens really end up defining whether you can win or not. Are the back ends now, the way the Dodgers did it last year, are they trumping, even though the Dodgers spent a lot of money to get Sasaki, they got Ohtani coming back, and they got Yamamoto, are the back ends of bullpens now trumping the need for great starting pitching?
I don't think so. I still think that somehow this game has to correct itself, or the turnover for starting pitching, it's already out of control. It's almost unethical, if you ask me, how injured these pitchers are getting. So they've got to find a way to bring it back. And, great pitchers now are throwing 130 innings. Are you serious? I mean, my gosh, everybody's going to blow out. Then there's max effort arms in the bullpen. We need to, I think what's really interesting to me is the older guys that they signed for our rotation, see their durability. They've done it a long time. Can they get up closer to 200 innings? Wouldn't it be nice to have some starters that can throw over 200 innings to help save the bullpen and save the need to sign, 50 pitchers just to keep you relevant in the game? So I think that balancing act is going to be interesting to see how all teams really do it. The Dodgers have just got an overload of pitching. So they have a stockpile right now. They could put starters in the bullpen. They could put anybody out there. I think it's interesting here too. They're going to have to make roster moves to free up players. So I think all teams are going to be watching who the Dodgers end up dropping, because you could claim guys off waivers and do all kinds of fun things. And I think the Orioles have been pretty good at that.
Let me just run this by you, Bordick. Who do you is the biggest for the lineup? Maybe I'm going to answer my own question. Is there a bigger X factor to the Orioles' ability this season than what Adley Rutschman does?
Yeah, I put a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of weight on his shoulders. Yeah. I think they really missed his punch the second half of the season, his consistency. And, man, did it show up. Because, I think we've said all along, Adley Rutschman, when he showed up, the organization started taking off and they were heading in the right direction. And I think it kind of proved that if Adley doesn't go, wow, does everybody kind of fade away? And the whole offense sputtered the second half of the season. So Adley's got to, he's got to have a nice bounce back year, help stabilize the offense, and hope, a couple guys come back just better than ever. I expect Gunnar to have another great year. I expect, Westberg to have another great offensive year. And, we're all keeping our fingers crossed about Jackson Holiday. If he can really, I think, transition defensively, he'll get more opportunities offensively to shine.
Remind everybody, when is, what's the schedule for the BMore Baseball podcast? When are you guys going to be doing it?
All right. Well, BMore Baseball podcast with Bordick and Coleman. First shows, we're shooting for February 25th. We're going to be on weekly. It's going to be about 40 shows. We're hoping and praying for current players, former players, future players and then again, some of the players that I might have played with in the past. I had a great talk with one of my former trainers, the trainer to the stars, I call him, Barry Weinberg, who's actually a Maryland native. He was a trainer with the Yankees and got to, work with all the great players up there, and then came over, of course, to the A's and work with Ricky Henderson and Eck and all that. And he said, man, I can get some of the great ones to be on that show. So I'm looking forward to great baseball talk, and hopefully it's all positive about the Orioles all season long.
And then what else can we plug for you, my friend? Baseball Warehouse, League of Dreams, the whole thing.
Yeah, Baseball Warehouse, of course. I love giving lessons there, working with kids, teaching them the right way to play the game. They're doing really good things out there and have an awesome staff. The League of Dreams, listen now, you got to look it up, leagueofdreams.org. We are developing an unbelievable partnership with our CCBC community colleges and Dundalk, Catonsville, Essex. We're doing wonderful things with their special needs population and their student athletes, bringing them all together. We just had an awesome meeting talking about swim safety for our special needs kids as well. So just so many wonderful things happening. And I might even do a podcast for the League of Dreams. So, man, oh, man, a lot of great things going on. I really appreciate you letting me talk about that.
Always appreciate you, man. We will be in touch. Looking forward to hearing the show. Thank you for taking the time
Thanks,
for us,
Bordy.
buddy.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you all.
Mike Bordick with us here on GCR. Mike Elias apparently speaking to some reporters at the Birdland Caravan event this morning. Nothing terribly significant popping up. This is from Andy Koska's Twitter. He says,
Did you talk about me?
I don't think he came up at all, believe it or not. It's
I'm
shameful,
the best
right?
former talk show host.
Well, plus, you would think that he would want to bring up your career at Northwest.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. Northwestern High School.
Right, I
Not to
understand.
be confused with Northwestern.
Right, that's true. It wasn't. You weren't playing
I didn't
for
play
Chris
that.
Collins.
I didn't play
I get it.
I was busy with my masters.
Understood.
Yeah.
Mike Elias said at this point the Orioles are planning a 5-man rotation as opposed to a 6-man. That's something that's come up a little bit this offseason. Also acknowledged they're still looking at ways to improve the club, and if a major league player trade appears, there's a comfort level to do it. So there's something as the Orioles get closer and closer to pitchers and catchers reporting.
What's the date? The 16th?
That sounds right. Hang on a second. Pitchers and catchers report date 2025.
Orioles Feb 13.
Feb 13.
Yeah.
Pitchers and catchers report.
It's an unlucky
Sarasota.
day.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, but it's a Thursday, so it's
Yeah,
not
it
a
is,
Friday. They got that. They got.
I guess
that
they
going.
didn't want to start on Valentine's Day.
That's true, right? Get them down there before. So I have no idea what the thought process is. In fact, most teams are reporting on the 12th. Oddly, the 13th is the latest report date for anyone this year. The Cubs report on the 9th. They're the first team, and the 13th.
Well, they've
is
got the most new players probably. So
Is anybody playing? Is anybody playing?
But
Are there any international games before?
yeah,
the regular,
there's.
They start today. They got
before the
that
regular season?
International World
the
Series.
Caribbean
World
series. Yeah, they're gonna do that on MLB Network. I think you can watch it there.
4:30, right?
But
I'm gonna watch
is
that.
there a Japan or a South Korea or something like that that would make
I think
sense?
somebody is going to Korea. I think, or Japan, something.
Yeah. Let's see.
It's
March 18th.
there you go.
Yeah.
The Dodgers and the Cubs in Tokyo on March 18th and 19th. So that makes sense as to why
10
the
days
Cubs are
before,
reporting.
Tokyo, Korea, right?
Yes, Tokyo, Korea, exactly right. But that explains why the Cubs report date.
Some confusion because there's
earlier.
a Tokyo, Japan.
100%. You just want to make sure everybody knows. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. The Dodgers, however, are not reporting. The Dodgers are like, I'm not sure if you've heard. We've got all the players. We're good. They're still reporting on the 11th. They're not doing the thing the Cubs are doing. They're just like, yeah, we're okay. We are the Dodgers. No offense. We can report what we want to report. Hey, O.J. Brigance, of course, is one of the most important people that we've ever had in our community, and the Brigance Brigade does a lot of incredible work to lift up those who are in the battle against ALS. And one of their big events on the calendar is the Winter Soiree, February 21st at Martin's West. Great food, great music. Jimmy Charles is going to be playing live music that night. Live auctions, celebrity appearances. If you want to be a part of it, just have a great night out, or just want to do something to help lift up the Brigance Brigade, then get your tickets for the Brigance Brigade's Winter Soiree. Go to brigancebrigade.org right now in order to get your tickets. come back in, start to wind things down for a Friday edition of the program and the week here on Glenn Clark Radio. Yeah. Nailed it. That's the good stuff. When you
On Glenn Clark Radio.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and it's our very special Best of 2024 issue. On the cover, we celebrate our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Lamar Jackson, as Bo Smolka profiles what the quarterback means to the community beyond the football field. Also inside, we celebrate the top people, performances, and moments of the year in local sports. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always read the entire issue and find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, winding down for a Friday edition of the program. Stan the Fan in studio with us. I am just trying to hold on.
You've got this sinus thing going on.
It has been all week. It's just a couple days I couldn't talk.
Have you thought of trying this new thing I was reading about? You put leeches in your nose.
I think I'm going to pass. I think it's going to be a hard.
Yeah, but
pass.
if it works,
right? No,
but
I
it works
think it's
tremendously.
Going to be a very hard. Like the hardest of passes. I think is where I'm going to end up falling on.
People do it though. It's not like
right. No, I understand. I think I'm going to not do that. Is what I'm going to tell you.
The only complication is sometimes the leeches don't want to come out.
Right. Yeah, and I think I would avoid.
But you can live with the leeches.
I know.
Yeah, they just become part of you. Yeah, moving forward. I think no.
It's like you have a
is gonna
friend.
be the answer on that one. No.
You have to blow your nose real hard.
In order, like you just keep, and eventually it'll.
Yeah, they come out.
Okay. Now you've done this.
It's like the little bird on the back of a
I
hippo.
would never do that.
Right.
I don't have that problem.
That's a great point. But if you had this problem,
I would do it in a
definitely
heartbeat.
you would. The leeches would be the play for
That'd
you.
be at the top of my list. I just happen to have some in my bag.
No. All right. So anyway, just a hard no. Any juice for you at all? Do you care even a little bit about Chiefs-Eagles next Sunday? Like, do you have any?
I'll be
we're all going to watch the game.
I want to see how the Holly Steinfeld commercial.
Okay, that's what you got going for.
Me too, Stan.
They're doing a When Harry Met Sally remake commercial
with
Billy Crystal
and Holly.
With Haley Steinfeld? No, I
Yeah.
don't think she's going to be a part of that.
It's Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, Haley Steinfeld.
We knew what you meant.
With Meg Ryan.
Thank you. Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan are reuniting to do a commercial.
She's really been
headlining,
working. She's worked a lot over the years. Meg Ryan.
The last thing I saw Meg Ryan. I don't remember. I'm telling you, I have no juice for it. Like I'll watch because of course we're gonna watch, but I have no. There's no rooting in. I don't even have like anti-Chiefs stuff that's driving me. Like I just don't. I don't care about this game. There's no embraceable, like, guy that you just really hope that this long-suffering fan base or long-suffering player wins. Like, I got
Chiefsaholic deserves another.
Yeah, that guy. In fact, somebody was arguing me the other day that if you really considered what player of these two teams is most deserving of like finally winning their first Super Bowl, it would be DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah,
it's like that. I got nothing on that. Like nothing.
Not Hollywood Brown.
Not yet.
I just have no juice for it whatsoever. No juice. Other than I did in our postseason picks contest, I did pick the Chiefs to beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Oh,
so
good.
I don't want to give it away, but now I feel like I just hedged my bet the other way, and I think I've locked it up no matter what.
You've locked it up.
Yeah, I think
it's a lock.
It's on ice, as the kids say. I think that's the case for our postseason.
What's my take on that? Do I get a portion of it?
No, this was you and I's. Yeah, I beat you.
Oh, me?
Yeah, yeah, I beat you. I defeated you.
Oh, you clobbered me.
In this one, that's the way that it went. But you did win the regular season. So
yeah, I mean, I'm just going to care as much as however I end up betting on it. You know, however much I end up betting on the game.
How much are you intending to bet?
I'm not sure yet. That's
1-800-GAMBLER. HelpMyGamblingProblem.org for free content.
But I'm sure I'll get some intuitions, leading up to the game.
Oh yeah,
and typically right. So
you gonna bet the Gatorade? You gonna bet the?
Well, I have seen people doing a lot of research on the
Gatorade,
Gatorade, so I may have to.
Now? The Eagle,
Sirianni got yellow Gatorade in the NFC Championship, and I think the Chiefs have done purple Gatorade the last 2 seasons. So
what's the
just throw that out there.
What's the spread right now?
I think it's still 1.5, right? Or
Chiefs?
Yeah.
You can check that. The Superbook put out their huge, like they always do this every year, where they put out their giant Super Bowl Superbook.
Who?
Right now, no favorite for the coin toss. Heads and tails both -101. Exactly.
Okay, yeah. So you can. Well, actually, no, you can't win money.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is.
Oh.
They got everything in here. They got the first. Who will have the first rushing attempt?
Yeah.
Who will have
Chiefs -1.5. Yes.
It's still 1.5.
Yes.
How about the national anthem? Do we know who's singing that and how long the time of the national anthem is?
I assume that we know who's singing it, but I don't know off the top of my head who's singing
Super Bowl.
But it's got to be out there.
Singer gonna be John Batiste.
Oh, from
from
Stay Human.
Colbert.
He was on Colbert for
Yeah.
years. Yeah, I actually love him. I think he's tremendous, but I've never heard him do the national anthem, so I have no idea. He's not your classic Celine Dion type.
He'll do it on that soprano sax.
You're saying take the under.
What's the number? What's the number?
I have not found a number
what's
yet.
the anthem time?
Super Bowl national anthem over under. All right, let's go. Hold on.
I've got no juice.
Pick-wise has it at 120.5 right now.
120 seconds.
Yeah, sorry, 120 seconds.
I feel like we did research on this one year. I feel like we did.
Last year, Reba went 135.
Ooh, she had places to be.
Yeah, and the over-under was set at 130.5. And she
wait.
1 minute 35 seconds. Sorry.
Okay.
Baptiste has a lot of embellishments to how he plays things.
So wait a second. So what's
they would think this would be the shortest one in about.
What's the number set at?
120.
Yeah,
a minute and 20, not 120.
Sorry, 120 seconds. Yeah. Okay, so this would actually be pretty long.
Yeah,
they
that's
do
what I'm
think
saying.
It's long.
This would be a 2 minute. You said last year Reba was a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, I would go under then.
Chris Stapleton 2 years ago, the last Chiefs Eagles, he went 2:01 too. So that would be the over in this. And
how can there be a 30 seconds worth of?
It's gone over the last 4. It's gone over the last 4 Super Bowls.
So
and
the number
was
set,
and they do change the over under based on.
The number was set below. Are you sure it wasn't 130 seconds for Reba? And not a minute 30?
It's a minute 30. They had it.
Why
they had
was
it right.
hers
They
so
had
much
it right.
shorter than everybody?
I guess they knew that
Reba
was going to get in and out. They knew that Reba was going to get in and out.
She has an incontinence problem.
Is that what it is? Jesus.
Really bad.
Wish her well. I have no idea what to make of any of that. That's crazy.
Over is the favorite right now. So over 2
known.
minutes.
I
minute
typed
40.
it in. Reba McEntire
exactly.
national anthem.
Lots of stories came about. Wow, God, that's crazy. I wish somebody would have let me know that beforehand, so I could have.
I made a fortune on it.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
You're doing really well because of that bet. Yeah. Well, apparently she still went over because the number was set so low. I got a lot of questions.
Demi Lovato went under in Super Bowl 54. She was set at a minute 55.
But I think there were reports that came out later that she actually
has big drug problems.
She bet on it. No, she bet on herself. She laid a lot of money on the the unders, so she manipulated that
smart.
outcome in order to
That's very smart.
Cash in.
I always thought she was smart.
Right? Like I don't know why anybody wouldn't do that. Anything else that's interesting to you over there?
No, not right now.
Okay, very good. Why don't we go ahead and get a tidbit then? Tidbit is brought to you today by the CIAA tournament.
CIAA tournament is coming back to Baltimore as Baltimore welcomes the excitement of the Food Line CIAA men's and women's basketball tournament at CFG Bank Arena from February 25th through March 1st. Your tickets that are available now on Ticketmaster.com. Again, go to Ticketmaster.com for your tickets to the Food Line CIAA men's and women's basketball tournament, CFG Bank Arena, February 25th through March 1st. College basketball. Yeah, we'll do college basketball today. Last night, Monmouth knocked off Drexel in the CAA. As Towson, Stan did mention, Towson got a big win. They move into sole possession of first place. William & Mary got absolutely bulldozed by Campbell.
Oh,
they lost by 40.
It's all coming together. All coming together.
They won
what could
7
go wrong?
in a row. They won 7 in a row. 8-1
what could
start.
possibly go wrong?
Sole possession of first place. But Monmouth, who they have yet to play, they have 2 games against. Yeah, 2 games against Monmouth. Madison Durr had 40 points last night in Monmouth's overtime win. 10 of 11 from the field, 19 of 19 from the free throw line. He is the first Division I player in at least the last 30 years to shoot 90% from the field and 100% from the line in a 40-point game. Madison Durr from Monmouth. So that was a pretty impressive performance. Yeah, you did?
Yeah, I did. Totally.
Jerry Burson has that one.
Sure.
I did it in high school.
Yeah, correct. At Northwest. Yeah,
Northwest.
And since we're talking about Dan Hurley and coaches with Chris Knoche, I did I do like Dan Hurley. Like I'm a fan of him. Like he's a great coach. Like it's.
I don't know that I'm a fan of his. I respect the fact.
I mean,
that
the fact that
coach.
we haven't had a lot to cheer about. The last few
Get to
years.
the point.
So I wanted to do among active coaches, most wins among active coaches in the NCAA. There are 10. Actually, sorry, no. Larinaga is on this list. He is no longer technically active. There are 9 coaches with over 700 wins actively coaching.
Actively coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Patino.
Yep, Patino. He is
Calipari.
Cal is number 1 right now with 8.
The big storyline this weekend is
825.
Arkansas visits Kentucky on Saturday. First trip back.
Mark Pope's another one. I think he's a really good coach too. I like Mark Pope.
It looks like he's a very good.
There really are 7.
Izzo.
Izzo, yes. So Cal is 825. He's the most among active guys. Izzo is 725, so he is in the cut. He is 8th.
Fran McCaffrey?
No, not Fran McCaffrey. That's a good guess, though. McCaffrey is at 544, outside the top 15. Mark Few does have over 700.
I was going to guess him.
731.
I thought he was a little too young for that.
All with Gonzaga.
Adolph Rupp.
He does have a lot of wins. I don't think he's still
coaching.
No.
Yeah,
he is?
At Northwestern.
I feel like that would be a bigger story. I feel like that would make the papers if that were the case. Leonard Hamilton?
No Lenny Hamilton.
Really?
He is at 634.
I'm a little surprised.
How about Bruce Pearl?
Bruce Pearl's also just outside 681 actually for Bruce Pearl.
I'm trying to think of older coaches. Jerry Tarkanian.
Yeah, I don't think that
he's an older coach.
The Shark. How about Dana Altman?
Yeah, Dana Altman, yes, does have over 700 wins. Altman
is he at Creighton?
No, he's at Oregon.
771. He is 5th right now among active guys.
How about who am I blanking on? At least 700.
This is number 2.
Bill Self.
Yeah, Bill Self is 3rd. Yeah, 810.
Wow.
And how many more do we have to get? We have to get
1, 2, 3 more. Yes.
Is Rick Barnes still?
Rick Barnes is still coaching
I
at
gotta be
Tennessee.
honest with you.
Is he over 700?
Yeah, he's over 800, 823. He's got
thought
the
I knew
second
that,
most.
but-
Wow.
Second most among active guys. He's 2 behind Cal right now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing.
Bob Huggins is not active.
Missing number 4 and number 9.
4 and number 9.
Number 4 has 781 wins. Next closest to 800 among active guys.
Are they well-known names?
Yeah. Well, so the other one does coach at a mid-major. Like, maybe even you could. I mean, it's a single bid conference, so maybe even low major. But
Single bid conference. Is Cliff Ellis still coaching at Coastal Carolina or whatever the hell it was?
No, he's not. I don't think he's still coaching at Coastal because I think it was like 2 years ago that he retired.
Sean Miller's too young, right?
He is too young.
Yeah, what's he got about 5? A little over 5.
How many does Sean Miller have?
Where the hell?
I'm trying to think.
He might not even be at 5 yet. 420 for Sean Miller. He was in the NCAA tournament last year.
In the NCAA tournament last year. He coaches in a 1-bid league.
Mm-hmm. All
One is
all
a mid-major and the other is a big, like a big school.
Yes. And he's all 709 of his wins have been at this one single school.
All 709 of his wins have been at the same school. This is the
single bid guy.
The major conference coach that we haven't thought of.
No, the mid-major.
This is the mid-major.
Yeah.
Mid-major.
All 700.
Oh, what about Kelvin Sampson?
Kelvin Sampson is the major one that is still left. 781 for Kelvin Sampson at Houston currently.
Is it the guy, and I'm not going to think of his name, is it the guy from Oakland?
It is the guy from Oakland.
What the hell is his name?
Got I think he's suspended
That's
for
the
his next
school he's
game.
at,
Yeah.
Oakland in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And they just did the bit with him and Tom Izzo where they're wearing the goofy Christmas sweaters for a game a couple weeks ago.
Apparently he was yelling at the ref the other night, and he's suspended for his next game.
It's Doug Gottlieb. That's who it is, right? It's Doug.
He's almost there, actually. He's got
close.
about I think 699 or something.
What is that guy's name?
Greg Camp.
Greg Camp.
709 wins. 9th active coach with 700 wins.
Well, that's great.
In college basketball.
Right. Glenn got 8 of them, 7 of them.
Yeah,
I
you got Kelvin
one.
Sampson.
Kelvin Sampson. I was struggling there.
You got another one in
Appreciate
there.
the that's a dynamite tip-in, Stan. I wasn't getting that.
Well, I played high school.
That's
baseball
true. Always people
at
forget.
Northwestern.
You are a legend. All right, very good. Let's get Tubular to wrap it up.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
By the way, Joe Lenardi has a new bracketology today, and he has Maryland now as a 6 seed.
Should be a 1 seed.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, they should.
They would play Kentucky in the second round of the NCAA tournament. All right, here's what's coming up this weekend, totally tubular-wise. Not a lot going on tonight, basically nothing. Tomorrow, Drexel Towson, 6 o'clock on the CBS Sports Network.
Iowa Penn State wrestling tonight.
Yeah, you're very
1 and
excited
2.
about that. I appreciate it. College lacrosse season gets underway tomorrow. Navy's at High Point at noon. That's on ESPN+. Hopkins is at Denver at 2 o'clock on something called MidcoSportsPlus.com. Loyola's at Georgetown at noon on Flow Sports. Maryland hosts Richmond at noon on Big Ten Network Plus. Other college basketball. A lot of college basketball local this weekend. A lot of teams at home. UMBC hosts Lowell at 1. Loyola hosts BU at 2. Navy hosts Bucknell at 2. Morgan hosts UMES at 4. All of those games are on ESPN+. And Coppin State hosts Delaware at 4:30 as well. The Senior Bowl tomorrow, 2:30 on NFL Network, if for some reason that interests you. And tomorrow night, of course, Stan never misses the WWE Royal Rumble at 6 o'clock on Peacock. Never
I'll
misses
be
it.
there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're going to be, wow.
I'm
in
going to be
Indianapolis.
actually
You and Pat McAfee.
I'm wrestling.
You're in the Royal Rumble.
Ooh,
That's
wow.
huge news. First
Been
entrant
kept on a down
to the
low
Royal
for a
Rumble.
long
That's
time.
a big story. Sunday.
I've got to still pass a physical.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Take it all back. Take it all back, Stan.
He'll pass. What do you mean?
Is it the Orioles physical?
Oh.
It's,
no
it's
chance.
very tight. It's a
No
very hard
chance.
physical.
No chance. Big Ten Network Plus on Sunday for Illinois, Maryland women, 1 o'clock. Yeah, that's about it. The Pro Bowl, 3 o'clock on ESPN and
Sweet.
ABC. If that's for
Yeah.
some reason something.
Caribbean World Series starts
weekend
today
on
on
MLB.
MLB.
And also on Sunday, the Grammys.
Yeah, the
8
Grammys.
o'clock on CBS. Oh, you know what? Tomorrow is a big college basketball day in general. Florida, Tennessee at noon on ESPN. Auburn, Ole Miss, Kansas, Baylor, North Carolina, Duke at 6:30, and then the big one, Arkansas, Kentucky, 9 o'clock. John Calipari's return.
And
to
those will
Lexington.
will all be on everyone's second screen though, because Stevenson and Wilkes are battling out for the 1 seed in the MAC ice hockey.
Cannot miss that
conference.
Actually,
yeah.
Gonzaga St. Mary's is tomorrow night too. It really is a long day on ESPN and college hoops. This is like their, we think you might pay attention to college basketball nowadays, so we're going to try to load up everything we can. College basketball.
I talked last week about that movie on Hulu, A Real Pain.
Yeah,
which is real good. Saw another movie on Hulu this week that was pretty good. I think it was a 2023 movie with John Hamm and Tina Fey, Maggie Moores.
I don't know anything about this.
Oh, very clever.
And I like John Hamm and I like Tina Fey.
Yeah.
All right. I would take a look. It's on Hulu, you say?
Yeah.
All right. I'll take a look.
And
Anything else?
of course, everyone's not going to be watching Penn State and Iowa live because they're going to be watching Gettysburg or sinus wrestling with me. Of course,
yeah, that's the big one.
Are you doing the play-by-play of that?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what the people have. There's been a lot of talk about that this week. There's
About
been a lot of
the
discussions.
my wrestling
Give
commentary.
me a couple of your calls, like
All right,
he's got him by the arm.
Nice takedown there by Smith, and he's got the boots in. Oh, he's turning his back. There's back points. 1, 2, 3. There's 4 back points, and then he secures the pin. Big win for Gettysburg there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
You like that?
That is compelling.
Yeah.
Send me the,
Do you
send me
get?
the link.
Do you fit?
All right, I will.
Do you fit the whip snake into the broadcast?
No. They're the bullets. They're not the whip snakes.
But you could say something.
You can.
Like
He's got him like a snake.
slithering like a whip snake.
Yeah.
Like
Okay, maybe if anyone decides to pull out a I guess there's.
I don't know.
That could be
I haven't done a lot of wrestling.
an anaconda or something. Yeah.
I was asked.
Neither
by,
have I. But
How does
I'm
how does
getting the hang of
wrestling
it.
broadcasting pay? Does it pay well?
Oh, this
well,
is the big bucks.
yeah,
right?
this
is the one.
Everyone goes to Gettysburg for
Yeah,
for
he gotta
the
drive-
wrestling.
He's got to drive up to Gettysburg to do it.
It's closer to me than.
It's a love of the game.
Do you get
situation.
gas money?
It's true. I mean, it's no.
Yeah. Let's be honest. It's a love of the game for Griffin.
Do you
Goodrich
pay,
is
do you
streaming.
pay Gettysburg to get?
No, I'm not paying them. It's not that. It's not that far. It's not that. Not that. Not to that level.
I got asked a couple years ago. American asked me to do wrestling, and I was just like, I don't think that the money that this pays is going to be worth the effort that I would.
Well, if
have
they
to
asked
put
you
in.
again, you would refer it to
1,000%
Griffin.
I would refer
I mean,
to
that
All
was
right.
impressive.
All right. Hey, thanks, Dan.
It
I'm
wasn't
one
sure.
of your biggest fans.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got to see it to believe it. Like I got to see it. It's one thing to do it in this situation. By the way, I'm now working with a company called Playmaker Play-by-Play. So if you go there, you can order. Send us your kids' baseball highlights.
It has to be baseball or
whatever sport.
All right, good.
And then
Dodgeball,
we will
maybe.
dub professional broadcast. Not today. Obviously, not today will I be doing that. But we would dub a professional broadcast
They
sound.
call you a professional.
Oh, they were seeking me out.
Wow.
To be a part of this. For weeks, they were on me about it.
How long does it take to tape one of those?
I haven't. I just agreed to it yesterday. I have not.
Congratulations.
Long-term
Yeah.
contract?
No.
Week by week.
Yeah, this is a
day by day, week by week.
And like they send it to you, they ask if you want to do it. Like it's sort of like Cameo. Really is what it is, just for play-by-play broadcasters. And at first, like when they sent me like the top names of people that were involved, and I was like, oh, all right, well if this person's doing it, then I'll do it. And then like I looked at the full list, and I was like, oh.
But you did recognize people on the list. So.
Yeah, there's a couple.
By the way, Sports Illustrated, one of these, Google articles, headline, proposed trade has Baltimore Orioles acquiring 2 elite arms from the San Diego Padres.
Oh, King and Cease.
You?
Nope.
Darvish?
King King and Jason Adam for
Elite.
Heston Kjerstad and Dean Kramer.
King and Adam.
King, yeah, Michael King and Jason.
I mean,
Adam.
I'd do it. I think.
I'd like King.
Yeah, I don't really care about it.
That sounds like a little bit too much for
What's
King and Adam.
Is Jason Adam gonna be a free agent?
I mean, who's Adam gonna? I like Adam a lot.
I mean,
I was the first one to have him in my fantasy league a couple of years ago.
So you would like it a lot because he come back to the American League now.
I
so
guess my issue, Stan, would be to me, Kramer ends up becoming a throwaway. And if you're acquiring another starting pitcher, he's pretty deep on the list at this point.
Adam does have one more year of arbitration.
What's that?
Adam has one more year of arbitration.
Another year of arbitration. I'd do it. I would.
Yeah.
I'd do it. I don't know if that's.
I'm really curious.
That could just
to
be
see,
some guy on the internet.
I'm
though,
really
like,
curious to see what Kjerstad is about.
I get it
at this point.
Right. Like I get
I
it.
mean, in other words, that lineup without Kjerstad, unless you got another deal planned, is just it's got. I mean, Kjerstad is sort of a prospect / suspect, but he's at least got the upside still. Where if you're wrong on him, I don't know. I like my trade. I like my trade
I'm
better.
really worried that we're getting into the territory of it's just never going to happen with Kjerstad. I'm really worried about that.
I'm concerned about that. I agree with you. His injuries concern me. You know.
I don't know. I'd like to give him a chance to be healthy.
I would like to,
yeah.
but again, if I could get Michael King, and again, some of this is can you sign Michael King? Can you?
Yeah.
Like I don't know that I want the Orioles to continue to be the team that just acquires guys on expiring contracts every year. Like that math won't work forever. That you pay young players for expiring contracts every
If you
season.
trade him, if you trade Kjerstad, you're really committing that O'Neill plays just about every day.
And I've been kind of convinced that he's going to anyway. Like
I'm convinced he will, but then you factor in his injury history.
Sure.
He's more like 120
That's fair.
guy rather than 145.
Anything else non-sports this weekend, Griffin?
Goodrich hit streaming. That is the Michael Keaton movie. Where where he's married to Mila Kunis. She leaves him, and then he's taking care of their kids. It's a real tearjerker.
Michael Keaton is
Michael
married
Keaton.
to
She leaves Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
Why would she do that?
I don't know. We have to watch and find out.
What-
That's on.
what's
Or
the
sorry,
age
HBO Max
difference
actually.
between Mila Kunis and
It's probably
significant.
Yeah, like is that part
She's
of
really
Yeah, that's part of
is
it.
that,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
part of it is
yeah,
that
yeah. That,
I
like,
was
he's
if they're
got
just
a-
trying to pass it off like this is a normal situation where
Yeah, no.
that-
It's
okay,
like
all
it's
right.
like yeah, like there's a it's heavy. It's like a heavy.
Although she's got to be getting on
She's 40.
40-ish.
She's 40.
New episode of Severance on Apple TV Plus, and if you don't feel like watching the Grammys, CW showing Point Break at the same time at 8:00 on Sunday night.
Mila Kunis actually is 41. She was born 27 or so days before I was.
She's
What could have
41.
been?
Very attractive.
I think about it constantly.
Very
Yes, she's
attractive
lovely.
young
There's no
lady.
question about
Mila
that.
Kunis.
All right, very good, Stan. Of course, you're saying you don't know about next week, but
I don't know about what
Doing
I'm
a show,
doing. Yeah, I'll be here though.
but
next
you'll be with
Friday.
us. Yes, next Friday for sure. At Stan the Fan.
You're not
on
getting
Twitter.
rid of me so easily.
Wasn't trying. I was just trying to plug.
I've heard differently.
Oh well. No, come on. You can't believe Griffin.
No,
Like,
I didn't.
You can't believe him. Look at him. He's trying to get out of here.
not what I
He's trying to
said.
leave us with
No.
the lucrative dollars of
I heard it
Gettysburg
from
wrestling.
other.
Yeah,
I heard
right.
it from other people.
Appreciate you being here.
I'm going March 7th and 14th.
Yep, on the hot dog tour. Stan is
The Florida Hot Dog Tour.
He is on his way for a wiener. All right, when we thanks to today to Mike Bordick, thanks to Chris Knoche, thanks to Stan. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Can you take me higher?
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. We'll be back Monday. No idea what we'll be doing on Monday.
Talk about Big Towson basketball win.
I hope we are. No doubt
Leading
about
with
it.
that.
Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise, Maryland, the Brigance Brigade, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, CIAA Tournament, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costa Sin, MSAA, Maryland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com.
I stopped by Timonium yesterday.
Very excited. Very excited.
No admittance unless you
gotta
know
know-
you got to go
gotta know
through. You
somebody
got to
who
have a
knows
secret
somebody who knows,
handshake
right,
and all
yeah.
that. they're moving and grooving on that. Should be open
Very
about
exciting.
April 1st. Major changes to the kitchen layout, and they got a lot of space there.
That's
A
awesome.
lot more than I thought.
That's awesome. That's the new Costa Sid coming to the OTB at Timonium. That'll be a great thing. The Bat Around tomorrow morning with Paul at 10 a.m. I think that's it. Have a great weekend. At Glenn Clark Radio is how you follow us. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Go all the local teams. Duke sucks. Yeah, but to be fair, a lot of people haven't heard of the other players that are at the Pro Bowl.
Miles Garrett. Whose nickname is PS2 and had however many interceptions he had this year?
That's a difference.
Who had 1,000 yards receiving the last 2 seasons? Who was the NFL's leading rusher?
But if they ask a question about Pat, if somebody said who's the fullback for the Ravens, I bet that